Hey everyone, it's Al. Welcome back to the 3D6 Gaming channel. What I'm going to do is do a run through of a solitaire matchup between myself and one of the solitaire opponents in the Fast Drive Football Fantasy Draft Expansion. This is going to be two videos. In this first video, we're going to go through the draft process, and in the second video, I'll actually play the game, and you can see how the opponent's powers and strategy card usage works. So to start, I've got my deck of all available players that can be drafted. This is both the players that come in the normal green pack, the base pack, as well as the expansion. And we're going to be using the teams, the blues and the reds. Other teams do come with the game. The legends, the blitz, the specialists, the playmakers, the hammers, and the beasts. They do have different starting qualities than the completely blank blues and reds. These are the default teams that sort of give each team an equal footing and equal blank slate. So we'll put these other teams aside for now. We are not going to use them. And I've decided I'm going to take on Blitzen Briggs for this video. Reason being, he's definitely one of the tougher solitaire opponents, and has a good mix of solitaire draft instructions that I'll be able to talk about during this video. And he's got a decent power called defensive stand. At the first opportunity in the game, he will automatically stop a touchdown pass with a crushing sack and force them to punt. So I know that facing him, I'm going to have one passing touchdown taken off the board if that happens. So we're going to pass for now. We're going to pass on these other solitaire opponents: Boyd, Wilson, Riley, Peters, Tilley, McClune, and Edwards. So they will not be used this game. This is going to be something fun for you to explore if you get this expansion. Next, we're going to lay out our draft pool. We'll do that in a second. And finally, we do have these strategy cards. Now, the solitaire opponents, they have powers. They will not be using these strategy cards. However, in a one-player game against a solitaire opponent, I'm going to have access to all of these cards, but I can only use one. So I'll have to decide when I want to use the card and which one I want to use. Now, there is an exception to both my single strategy card as well as the solitaire opponent's single power, and that is during the draft, if we were to draft a player from the same team. So, for example, Bobby Bell and Derek Thomas, if we were to draft these two players, both from Kansas City, that would give us what's known as the franchise affinity bonus. They would get a second power from a random solitaire opponent from the box, or I would be able to use a second strategy card. So that's pretty much the main rules. There are rules references here that come with the game that you'll be able to refer to. I'm just going to go ahead and walk through it. I know the rules pretty well by now. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the draft board with slots 2 through 5. And we are going to roll. Would have been good for me to be prepared with the dice before we started the video. So talk amongst yourselves while I get the dice out. Did some holiday cleanup, so my desk is nice and clean. We're going to go ahead and roll a black die and a white die. Actually, we're not. Sorry. We're going to roll the one die to start off the draft. What we're looking for is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whichever result we roll is going to determine which slot during the draft has the extra bonus discount, and it's going to be slot 3. So it's really bright yellow, and it probably shows up really well on the camera. The reason why I chose this is so that you noticed that I had some more subtle ways to display that bonus discount, but settled on this to make sure that nobody missed it. Okay, so we've got our two teams. I'm going to be the blues. The solitaire opponent here, Barney Blitzen Briggs, is going to be the reds. We don't need the strategy cards for the draft, but what we need to do for the draft is we actually need to set the draft pool. So you're going to whittle all these cards down to 25. And how are you going to do that? Well, by position, there's 10 different positions in here. We're going to select 10 cards by each stack of positions. I'm sorry, not 10 cards, 3 cards from each position. I should slow down since this is a demonstration video. So for each position, you shuffle up however many cards you have. In the base pack, there'll be 4 kickers, but given that I have the expansion, there's 8. So we shuffle up the 8 and we select 3, and that's it. So those 3 are going to be part of the draft pool. The other 3 we discard. And you do that for all other positions. Now, I could have done this ahead of time, but I figured folks would want to see how you play this game from beginning to end. So I'm going ahead and going through this busy work on camera so you can see how it works. I guess while I'm talking, I can tell you that the process for finding all of these players and determining what their qualities were going to be, which players made the cut, which players didn't make the cut, was a lot of fun. Did a lot of research. I understand that it's going to be disappointing for some folks that their favorite player maybe didn't make the cut. I'll obviously take input for maybe another expansion in the future, and also maybe that the qualities aren't where they think they should be. But trust me, I did try to give the players the qualities that I felt best represented their careers, how they played, and so really did try to make it as thematic as possible. Also, for those of you that were at the event at Canton this past year, you know that we included some draft busts in the original design of this game. It had players that actually brought negative qualities, many players that brought negative qualities to the game. And it was interesting, and we had a mechanism where you could force your opponent to have to draft a poor player. But in the end, the mechanics of that made it very, very difficult for me to create a solitaire system that would feel challenging and fair when you were playing a solitaire opponent. So all of these players that you're going to find in this game, with a few exceptions, are actually going to have generally positive qualities. There are a few whose value is taken down maybe because they were undisciplined or particularly weak in a certain area. So I did bring a little bit of that into the game, but for the most part, everybody's bringing positive qualities to the game. Another thing you might be wondering about if you're first time watching this video is, you've seen some of the player values. Player values are anywhere from $0 to $10. And you're wondering, well, geez, you get $15 for the draft. You have all these discounts. But is that enough really to draft a strong team? And the answer is sort of a qualified yes, but a little bit no as well. The idea is not to draft a unbeatable team. I mean, that wouldn't be any fun. So you do have to make some tough decisions about who you draft. And yes, though, the discounts will make some of the more pricier players affordable. Later in the draft, you're pretty much going to be left with $0, but you're still going to be able to draft players because either of a discount coming up or because they are actually worth a lot less. So you'll see how it works. And, I did my best to ensure that you couldn't have a team that was fully prolific and fully staunch with other qualities, that you sort of had to make a decision. Am I going for an offensive team, a defensive team, or do I want to focus on special teams and get a better kicker? Because these kickers are not good. 11 to 54 and 11 to 62. So the kickers are not good. But yeah, so that's how that works. And what's cool about all these players, this is the draft pool. You're setting aside so many that what I love about this game is that and look at all these quarterbacks. I got a ton of quarterbacks in here. What I love about this is that it's going to be never the same experience twice. You're going to get a different mix of players, which makes the game a lot of fun, gives it a lot of replayability. Again, it's not something that you're necessarily going to be building a league off of and having a project for it. This is more about just having a fun game night, rolling a game by yourself or with a friend, and turning Fast Drive Football into a fun board game, 2-player game, or 1 player against an opponent. So yeah, so I wanted a version of Fast Drive Football where I felt like I was trying to win. I wasn't just rolling dice, simulating a game as part of a larger project. So Fast Drive Football is absolutely a spectator game. It's an auto battler. The engine is set up. You just roll the dice or flip the fast action cards and the game plays itself. A little bit of decision making to keep you engaged, which was intentional, but for the most part, an auto battler. This allows you to feel like you're more part of the experience. Okay, so these cards will not be used again. But before we put that stack away, first we're going to take these 30 cards we ended up with here, and we're going to give these a really good shuffle. And the reason why we're going to do that is because 5 of these cards are going to get discarded. We are going to whittle it down even further. So the mechanic here is that you know that we only had 3 of every player, every position, right? So what this could mean is you might discard all the quarterbacks right now or all the running backs, and the better qualities on offense are going to come from your quarterbacks and running backs, and the better qualities on defense are going to come from your defensive linemen and defensive linemen and linebackers. So you'll know then, oh, geez, if I just discarded 5, good players, my odds of getting those qualities I'm looking for are diminished. I might want to change my strategy. So what the rules say is at this point, after you've given it a good shuffle, is to discard 5. And so what I do at this point is I just give it a cut and discard 5. So wherever I cut, we're going to discard 5, and it ends up being wide receiver, offensive line, linebacker, and running back. Okay, so all our quarterbacks are still in there. So that is our draft pool, but now we can set those cards aside as well. And we start the draft, and we're going to get our dice here ready. But for the first round, we're just going to go ahead and deal 5 cards face up and see who we have. And now, I didn't say who was actually starting the draft, who had first pick. But what I've been doing as I've been working on the game design is I typically am the home team for the actual game, and which gives, by the rules, the solitaire opponent first pick in the draft. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go ahead and say the Blues are the home team, being visited by Briggs and the Reds. They're going to get first pick in the draft. So we flip over their card, and we're going to see what their draft order is going to be. First, let's determine the discounts for the first round. We have a $2 discount over here on Phillip Rivers, and we have a $1 discount on Kurt Warner. So we got a couple quarterbacks here in the first round. I should mention that once we each make our pick, the other cards are gone. So cards appear for one round and then disappear. And I've got my piece of scratch paper here so I can keep track of, I'm not sure how much of that's on camera, not much of it, but I'm just going to keep track of me and Briggs. And this is a piece of scratch paper to say, we both start with $15. All right, so his first pick, what he's looking for here is priority 1. He's looking for a defensive lineman or a linebacker with either staunch or semi-staunch. There is no staunch qualities on the board, so we move to a second priority. He's looking for punishing. A defensive lineman or a linebacker with punishing, and there's Julius Peppers. So he's a defensive focused, just to reiterate, he has a defensive focus, so he's really going to be looking to make defensive picks in the draft. So he's skipping over Rivers and Warner. He's skipping over Curtis Martin over here. He would probably be interested in Leroy Selman, but he's taken Julius Peppers with his first pick in the first round, and that is going to take him down to $13. No discount, so he pays the full $2 for Julius Peppers. So he goes on to his team. Make sure that's all on the camera. And now it's my pick. You know what? Since he's going offense, I cannot pass up picking up Phillip Rivers for $2. So he's a $4 card, but with the discount, he's only $2. And by the way, just to be very clear, yes, Julius Peppers was on the bonus discount slot, but that just means if we had rolled a 3 for the white or black die, he would have gotten a discount. But if you don't hit it with the die that round, it really doesn't mean anything. So the only discounts are for these 2 cards this round. Hope that makes sense. And so I'm going to pick up Phillip Rivers. I'm only spending $2 this first round. So I will be left with $13 heading to the second round. And here we go. So I should also point out that you can only have 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 kicker, 1 punt returner, 1 kick returner. Otherwise, you can have as many of the other positions as you like. So that is the end of the first round. These players come off the board, never to be seen again in this draft. You take the dice away, and we deal out the second round where I will have the first pick. Randy Moss, Marvin Harrison, Deion Sanders, Charles Woodson, Jimmy Graham. So again, more offense, a little bit more offense coming out these early rounds. Let's see what the discounts are going to be. We've got Marvin Harrison's only going to cost $1, and Jimmy Graham is going to be basically 0. So 1 minus 1, 0. So I can pick up Jimmy Graham for free. Give me the semi-dynamic. Deion Sanders is a ridiculously interesting card. Had a lot of fun creating that one. Yes, he costs a lot. He's great when you can get him at a discount. But he's special in that he gives you the semi-electric quality at both kick returner and punt returner, which I really, really like. Randy Moss is interesting, but I'm already semi-prolific with Phillip Rivers, so that's really not a wise $8 to spend. I think I'm going to go with Deion Sanders. I really, really, really like that card. And the other thing that I mentioned, I think I mentioned the franchise affinity. There's nothing out here. There's no other LA Charger cards, franchise cards out here right now. So that doesn't help. So I'm going to blow $8 on Neon Deion. We're going to go down then to $5 left in my budget. But that is just that's just a great card to have. So put him there. Now, back to Blitz and Briggs. What's he going to do? He still needs that linebacker or defensive lineman with staunch. He doesn't see it, so he moves on. He skips the second requirement because he's already got his punishing player. Now he's looking for aggressive in either a linebacker or a defensive back. And look at that. We've got Charles Woodson meeting his qualifications there. So he's going to get Charles Woodson for 2. Takes him down to $11. So he's still got a lot more money, and he's having a pretty good draft. He's happy with that. And we go on to the third round. Third round sees Jack Lambert, Larry Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Rob Gronkowski, and Cordell Patterson. Now this is interesting. Like, he's got the first pick in this third round, and I know where he's going. This is going to meet his requirement, number 1. And he got a discount. Son of a gun. Okay, so, all right. Blitz and Briggs, first pick in the third round. He's absolutely going for this linebacker that has the staunch quality. We don't have to use the tiebreaker because there are no other players that meet this requirement. You'll note at the bottom of the card, if there are 2 players that make sense for the solitaire player to pick, when more than one option, choose the highest cost player. Take advantage of discounts when applicable. We're doing that here. And then finally, a list of positions in priority order for other tiebreakers as well. So he's got himself a nice defense shaping up here. He's got Julius Peppers, who's punishing, Jack Lambert, who's staunch, Charles Woodson, who's semi-aggressive and semi-punishing. But again, nothing on offense. So that 8 only cost him $6. He had enough to buy Jack at the $8. He didn't need it. And so that takes him down to $5. And I just noticed that is probably off camera. Let's see if that's better there. All right, I've got my third pick. I've got semi-prolific. I've got stiff and aggressive on defense. I've got some good special team stuff going on. So don't need Cordell Patterson. I don't have any dynamic. That would be helpful. I can't pick another quarterback, so he's off the board for me. And I've got Larry Wilson here, who's aggressive, but I already got Deion, who's aggressive, so I don't need that. Nothing franchise affinity related. So it's going to be Rob Gronkowski. So it's going to be a Rivers to Gronkowski show here on offense. He's costing me $1. No discounts there. So that takes me down to $4. And we go to round 4. All right, that was a fun round. We got to show the defensive coach getting exactly what he needed and the decisions involved. So here we go. Round 4, back to me having the first pick. Travis Williams, Morton Anderson, Jason Hanson, the kick. Oh, it's the kicker. Terrible shuffling, and it's the kicker round. Wow. And the discounts are on 1 and 5. By the way, if I was to roll a 6 with one of these dice, it's ignored. You set it aside. It doesn't get used for a discount. But if I rolled 66 boxcars, everybody's $1 off. Even the bonus discount field. So, my pick, do I have enough for a kicker? I've got $4 left. I think I'm going to get a better kicker. I really do like grabbing the kickers. These games typically are pretty close, and it does sometimes come down to kicking. The way this draft works out, especially when the teams are starting with no qualities, the teams, the way it just works out where the teams are well matched. So a kicker is never a bad idea. I've got $4, so I can't afford Kevin Green at only $5. That's really interesting to have a semi-staunch to go along with my semi-prolific, but I can't afford him anyway. No franchise affinity opportunities. So the only question is, this is the 4th round. Do I spend just $1 for Blanda, who's he really doesn't do much to increase my chances. It's one more, a 3% more chance to make a field goal. So I'm going to pass on Blanda. By the way, the reason why he's in here, there are some teams that Blanda will actually look good to, besides the Reds and the Blues, who have lower kick ranges to start. So let's go with Jason Hanson. Brings me up to a 61-63, spends $3. That'll leave me with $1 for my final pick. So here's all my players stacking up. By the way, you can end up with only 3 or 4 players as well if you go big early. All right, back to Blitzen Briggs. He's got his staunch player, we skip it. He's got his punishing player, we skip it. He's got his aggressive player, so his first 3 priorities have been met. Now he can look for a quarterback, and we're in the 4th round. He's only going to look for a quarterback in the 4th or 5th round. Unfortunately, none are on the board. So that means he's going to take any defensive player that he can find using these rules down here to settle any tiebreakers. No defensive players in the board except for Kevin Green. And look at that. He can't afford him. It's $5. So he's going to be now an extra staunch. Now here's the thing. I'm going to be very clear about this. Oh, he's getting the franchise affinity. See, I thought this was going to be like a sort of benefit for me, but look what happened. So yes, if a player, by rules, if there's someone they can afford to purchase, they have to. There's no just skipping and saving your money, and that stands true in the 2-player game as well. You're forced to make a pick if you can. In this case, any defense he can afford. So he would have to make the pick, and you would think, oh, well, that's just wasting his qualities because he's already got Jack Lambert, who's fully staunch, and he's already got Julius Peppers, who's fully punishing. But look at this. It's another Carolina Panther. So shoot. He's going to get the franchise affinity bonus. So he's going to get him for $5. That's going to take him down to $0 for the last round, but he's getting that bonus. So it was worth it. So he's going to have that franchise affinity bonus coming up when we get to the game in the next video. And let's run the final round. Maybe I can get the bonus too. Let's see. Don't know who's coming up. Last 5 players, and Briggs has the first pick. Mike Ditka, Brian Mitchell, Jonathan Ogden, Thurman Thomas, and Jason Taylor. And we've got a 3 and a 2. All right, so he's looking for a quarterback still, and there's not one on the board, so he won't be getting a quarterback. Now he's looking for any defense. His only choice is Jason Taylor, who he can't afford. So at this point, you are going to make any pick for the solitaire coach. And by the way, I do believe, so this is like a near final version of this game, but I do believe I added a 6 any to the bottom of Briggs's card. So at this point, he's going to see, can he afford anybody for $0? Because that's what he's left with. And he can only afford Brian Mitchell. So this is how you can still make a actually quality pick with no money left. So he gets Brian Mitchell for free, and he needed that. That will not go to waste. So for my last pick, let's just look at our cards again. I have got $3 left, so I can afford Taylor, I can afford Thomas, I can afford Ogden, and so basically all these cards are on the board for me. I wouldn't mind having, that'd be fun to have both Ditka and Gronkowski on the same team, because the semi-solid and semi-disciplined is nice. I could do that with Ogden as well. Having any extra money isn't gonna do me any good, so there's no point in leaving money on the table. Just for yeah, I've already got semi-dynamic. Semi-secure is good too sometimes. Avoid fumbles, so I could put Thomas in the backfield. And, Taylor is punishing well as too. I'm thinking of what's going to lead to possible points. And I'm feeling like it's going to be, thematically, let's go ahead and pick an offensive lineman. Let's take Ogden. Sorry, Mike, but we've already got a tight end, and he gives me full solid. So that's going to be my pick, my last pick. So my team, I've got Rivers at quarterback. I've got Ogden protecting him in the offensive line. I've got Gronk and his semi-dynamic quality at tight end. I've got my star defensive back, Neon Dion, with his semi-electric kick returning and punt returner qualities, and Jason Hansen, my upgraded kicker. So that is the Blues. And the Reds now, a really strong team. Wow. Anchored up front by Julius Peppers. Linebacker, Kevin Green. Second linebacker, Jack Lambert. So there's your inside and outside linebacker. Brian Mitchell, kick returner, and defensive back Charles Woodson. A strong team. They've got the franchise affinity with Carolina. And just to make sure I didn't miss anything, I do not have any franchise affinity at all. So in our next episode, I will be taking, so that's it for the draft. The draft is done. You can put all this away. Maybe these guys will get drafted next time. Draft pool is done. That goes away. So next video, we're going to have the Blues coached by me, the Reds coached by Briggs, and we'll see how this draft turned out for me. We'll see how I do against his two powers. Let's go ahead and figure that out now. Before I stop this video, it's gone a little bit too long, but before I stop this video, he got the franchise affinity bonus, so that means he's already got his defensive stand power. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go grab the other 7 solitaire opponents. We're going to give these a shuffle, and we're going to pick one. And that's going to give him his second power that he's going to be able to activate during the game that we play. So here we go, picking one at random. I'm not looking. This is off camera. I've got them out of my eyesight, shuffling, and picking one. And we pick Air Raid Riley, so who's got an offensive focus. On his first drive of the game, Riley will get a drive result for the timing only and dial up a bomb. Roll 2d6 and sum the dice. On a roll of 5 to 12, it's a touchdown pass. Otherwise, the offense is forced to punt. So it is not a guaranteed touchdown, but almost. And then he's going to be guaranteed of taking away a touchdown pass from Phillip Rivers on my side. So there you go. For me, this is a lot of fun. There's a lot of narrative here. Again, it's a one-off experience. It's a fun way to spend an hour. We spent a half an hour on the draft doing a lot of talking. It normally doesn't take this long. I'd say about 20 minutes. And now we move on to the game. So I will stop this video, get this one posted, and then set up for the game. And hopefully that'll give you guys a feel for everything you get when you purchase the Fantasy Draft Expansion for Fast Drive Football. See you soon.